Hello everyone, this is Just a Dad. Today I'm going to do a detailed review and brew some coffee with this Gourmia Grind and Brew coffee maker, 12 cup programmable from Walmart, model number GCM3180. So it costs $79. Walmart just started carrying these about 6 or 7 months ago. So I just did an unboxing video, and I also did a video of how to set the brewer up before you brew your first pot of coffee. So check out those two videos. So let's talk about the coffee maker a little bit. It's got a pretty nice display. It is backlit when you're using it, but the backlit goes away after a while. It's got brew later, so you can program it to start a pot of coffee for you in the morning. It does have a grinder. There's 2 settings, coarse and fine. I'll be doing each one of those. There's a brew only, that turns the grinder off, and then this is your big brew button. So you do have some beeps when you press the buttons, but it doesn't beep at you when it's done brewing the pot. And as far as I know, there's no way to turn those beeps off. You've got this glass carafe. This is a warming plate. It will keep your coffee warm. We can adjust that from 0 to 4 hours. It's got a hinged lid. I mean, it feels okay. It feels a little cheap, but not too bad. So let's just look around. It does have some metal on it. It's mainly plastic. There's what the back looks like. So it does have this little window here to see how much water is in the water reservoir. Kind of hard to see from the front though. We've got this vent, so a lot of steam comes out this vent. We've got this hinge. So we got to press this button to release the... So here's the grinder. So it's going to grind the coffee. It's a chop grinder. And then this is the filter. You're not going to be able to, like a normal coffee maker, you can use a paper filter. This is a permanent filter. And this is the only filter you're going to be able to use. It's a really coarse wire, or a really fine wire mesh filter, but it's open in the bottom. And there's the grinder. And then we've got this brew basket that you can pull this whole basket out, which you will need to be doing for cleaning. Now the bottom of it, this is some gears. These are real rubbery. But down there, that's kind of a hard plastic, those gears. That's what's going to turn the grinder. And then you've got this plunger. This is for pause brewing. That's down in there. It lifts up that little area. That's where your coffee's going to go. So the idea is it's going to grind it, and then it's going to shoot the hot water over the top of it. Now, one thing you're going to want to make sure is, so this thing, make sure you push this down all the way. And then again, we've got this up here. We do have some interlocks. This is an interlock. And then there's also a little interlock here that this lid pushes down. And then this lid pushes this. Because they don't want you to turn the grinder on without the lid being completely closed. There's where the water goes. There's no water filter. You cannot install a water filter down there, but this is where the water goes. And then this is where the hot water comes out. This is removable. It just pops off, which I think you're going to want to clean this once in a while. And then to pop it back on, just line up those. There you go. Okay, so let's put it back together. This fits really simple right there, okay? And then again, there's the basket. Now this does we can put whole bean. I've got some whole bean coffee here. We're gonna put the whole beans right there, but you can also grind normal coffee. Coffee that's already ground, you can put it here also. You're just gonna turn the grinder off. You're gonna hit brew. Like here, you've got the grind and brew, but we're gonna turn the grinder off. And it says open now because I got the lid open. So let's close the lid. Again, make sure you snap it closed. Then it activates the display. Again, we've got coarse, fine. And if our coffee is already ground, we're going to do brew only. This turns the grinder off. And then we hit this button that starts the boiling the hot water and brewing the coffee. So it comes with a really nice manual, and it comes with this scoop. The scoop's a little deceiving. At first I thought, well, it's not a tablespoon, but it actually is exactly the same as a tablespoon, even though this one looks bigger. They're exactly the same. So this is 1 tablespoon. So this is a 12 cup coffee maker. And it's going to brew how much ever water we put back here, like 12, if we put all 12 cups back here, it's going to brew all 12 cups. So if you only want a 4 cup, a 6 cup, or an 8 cup, just fill this up to the 6 mark. Put that amount of water back here, and then you're going to put a tablespoon of coffee grounds for every cup you're going to brew. So I'm doing a full 12 cups. I'm going to put 12 tablespoons of coffee. Either the whole bean, 12 tablespoons of the whole bean, or 12 tablespoons of the ground coffee. Now again, if I only want to do a 6 cup, say I want to do a small pot, just fill this up to the 6 mark with water, pour it in here, and put 6 tablespoons of coffee here. And then when you hit the brew button, it's going to grind whatever's in there, if it's whole bean, and then it'll brew whatever amount of water you have in the back. So again, this is a little different. Remember, this is your filter. You don't have a paper filter like you do with a standard drip coffee maker. You'll have a paper filter that you could put in there, but this is the only one you're going to put in. And again, make sure you snap it down because it kind of sits on top, but you want to push it down all the way. Now it does have a max. See that max right there? It says do not overfill it with coffee or coffee beans above that mark. Okay, so I've got this filled up to the 12 mark. Again, you can use filtered water or bottled water. Just don't use distilled water. And then we're going to pour it right here. Be careful, it can make a mess. The opening's pretty big. Okay, let's check the window on the side. So it's a little bit below the 12. So I could add a little bit more water. So that did not correspond with how much water was on the 12 mark. In my unboxing, I show you that this has a really tall lid. You're not going to be able to put this under a kitchen cabinet. It's just way too big. Okay, so we're going to put the carafe underneath here. We got to make sure the lid is on because this lid is what's going to poke up that little plunger right here to let the coffee come out. Now we've got to put our coffee in. So I took the time, this is a 1 cup measuring cup, and I put 12 tablespoons in there. So you can see it comes in below the 1 cup, but this might be an easier method than to get a tablespoon out and go 1, 2. Okay, so I put 12 tablespoons of coffee grounds in there. I'm below the max line. I could add a little bit more if I want a little bit more of a bolder taste, but 12 works pretty good for my taste. So it just sits right in there on top. So I've got my water, my coffee beans. I'm going to close this lid. Make sure it snaps right here. Because when it's open, it'll say open, and you can't do anything. You can't press any buttons. Now it's closed. Okay, so one area that they don't talk much about is this grind and brew. So I've got coarse and fine. Now the manual really doesn't talk much about that. So it's gonna grind the coffee beans longer to make them finer. That's gonna give you, it can give you a more stronger, maybe even a little bit more bitter coffee. Now the coarse, you won't get, the coffee beans won't be ground as long, so you may not get as much flavor extraction. So anytime that the coffee bean is not ground, if it's in really big chunks, you run the risk of not extracting enough flavor from it. But if it's ground too fine, you run the risk of it kind of backing up and kind of clogging up the grinder or clogging up the coffee maker. So I had wished normal coffee maker takes a medium grind, like a normal drip coffee maker. I'm going to have to brew each one and do a taste test. So the first one I'm going to do is coarse. I'm going to open the lid and show you what the coarse ends up being. But I'm also going to brew a coarse and a fine. So this might be like their bold setting. So a lot of coffee makers have got bold setting that adjusts the time of the brew. But this one's just got how fine the coarse of the coffee beans is. And again, if I had put pre-ground coffee in already, I would just hit brew only. But let's do a coarse. Then you're just going to hit the brew now button. Grinder's not super loud, but it is actually kind of loud. Okay, I want to stop it. Well, and then let's take a look inside and see how did it turn out. So there's a coarse grind. So it did a decent job, looks like. That looks like about a medium grind. You know, the coffee beans or the coffee didn't shoot up all over, so that's good. So now let's put this back in. Okay, so if you open the lid, it interrupts the brew process. So close the lid and the brew process will start again. Once it's grounded, it automatically starts heating the water, and it's going to send that hot water over the coffee grounds now. Okay, so it's been about 4 minutes. We're at the 4-cup mark. So this has grab a cup. So if I want to grab a cup of coffee, it will pause. That plunger will come down and keep the coffee from coming out. Now I can pour me a quick cup of coffee, but I got to put this back right away so that it doesn't overfill. I can only do that for about 30 seconds. And then once I put it back in, that plunger pushes up and it continues to go into the pot. Now, this is not a super loud coffee maker once it starts brewing. You're getting quite a bit of steam right in this area right here. This is not hot. This is not hot yet. Okay, so I don't recommend this. I'm going to grab a peek, because if I open this lid, it's going to cancel the brew. But I want to take a peek. This is really hot. So there's how to brew in the coffee. Close it, and I got to restart it. And I would turn it to brew only if you have to restart it. Fiona likes to help with my videos. Okay, so towards the end of the brew, you do get a bunch of steam that comes out of this. So be careful. Again, this is not super hot. Most of the steam is directed right there. Your display changes to a keep warm. This is a timer that counts up, and it shows you how long the coffee's been sitting there. So with this keep warm button here, I can change how long. So see there, it just counted up a minute. The coffee's been sitting there for 1 minute. But now that warming plate's going to stay on however long I program it for. So by pressing this button, I can program it for 30 minutes, 1 hour, 1 hour and 30 minutes, 2 hours, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4. 4 is the max. But if I go one more, it goes off. That warming plate will turn off as soon as this is done brewing coffee. The default is 2 hours. So the coffee maker will turn off the warming plate automatically after whatever time you've got set here. But if you leave and say you want to turn the coffee maker off yourself, just hit this brew now button one more time. That light will go out. That lets you know that the warming plate is off now. Okay, so let's pour a cup of coffee. Be careful, the carafe, it pours okay. It's a little heavy with all 12 cups in there. How warm a cup did we get? 165, yeah, that's about standard. Nothing super extravagantly hot. So I've tasted this. So to me, we did a coarse grind brew. This tastes pretty much like a normal coffee maker. I'm going to do another pot where I do a fine brew, when I change the grinder to fine. But this is the coarse, which to me look more like a medium grind. And this is a really good cup of coffee, and it tasted really good. Okay, so let's go over cleanup now. Be careful, this can be hot. You may want to let this cool for a while. I'm kind of doing it a little early, but we're going to open this up. Quite a bit of steam comes out. There's how it did a good job brewing the coffee grounds. But you're going to want to take this whole thing out. Now this thing is hot. If I just take this thing out, those coffee grounds are going to fall in, because remember the bottom of that is open. So again, this whole thing is hot. And we'll even get some little bit of leftover coffee down there. This is how it looks. So nothing too much to clean up here. It brewed all the water that we put in the back. And this did not get too dirty here either. Okay, so cleanup is, I'm going to simulate this being a trash can. This is going to be kind of tricky. So getting those coffee grounds out of there, I'm not sure what the best way is. Do you take this out? You're left with some coffee grounds there. Then you've got some on here. Then you gotta, boy, they don't want to come out. They don't, and you don't want to get a bunch of coffee grounds down your sink. So I'm not sure what the best way is. Okay, so here's cleanup. Cleanup was a little more challenging than I would have liked. The good thing is all of these parts are dishwasher safe, top rack. Again, this just pops off, the lid just pops off right there. Like I said, this is dishwasher safe. This is, I had quite a few coffee grounds. I would have liked to have been able to get the coffee grounds into my recycling bin or the trash can a little easier. You're going to need kind of like a brush to kind of get down there and brush. And I definitely wouldn't put this in my dishwasher with all those coffee grounds. So I forgot to mention that took 12 minutes to brew that full 12 cup pot. So it takes about a cup a minute. And I did check. I didn't get any coffee grounds in the coffee pot. You will get a little bit of sediment. I don't know if sediment's good or bad for you. I think it adds a little bit of flavor to coffee. So when you use these reusable filters, you do get a little bit of sediment. And I'm going to show you that here in a minute. Okay, so let's do the fine. And then let's do just 6 cups. So we're going to put 6 tablespoons right here. 1, 2. Okay, I've got my 6 tablespoons of coffee. I've got my 6 cups of water. We're at the 6 cup mark. Let's close the lid. I'm going to hit the brew. I said I was going to do fine this one. This is empty. To me, it sounds like it's going longer. Okay, so let's stop it. Let's open it up. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so that setting, the fine setting, the coffee grounds are a little bit finer, and it does they do make a mess, kind of floating up a little bit. Okay, so we'll finish this brew. This is just going to be a 6 cup brew, and I'll do a taste test. Okay, so we're done with that 6 cups. That took about 6 minutes. Again, be careful. Let's open this up. This could be hot. Still got some water draining out. Let's pour a cup of coffee. Again, let's see how warm it is. So about the same, 164. Okay, so I did a taste test. This is the one that was with the fine grind. This was the coarse. This one the coarse tastes like a pretty good cup of coffee. The fine might be tasting a little bit more bitter, maybe a little bit stronger. I'm not a coffee expert by no means. So I would try a brew with each one and just see which one you like. So this was the first cup we brewed. Let's see if we get any sediment. So we do get just a little bit of sediment in the bottom of our coffee cup. Nothing too major. Okay, so let's go over the control panel. Again, we've got an hour and a minute button. So be careful. Anytime you accidentally press those, it automatically changes the hour. So we do have an AM and a PM light. That's nice. So you just set the time, and then you can change it at any time. So let's talk about the brew later. So we got this button called brew later. We can program this to start at like 4 or 5 in the morning or any time of the day you'd like. So let's hit the brew later button. It's going to change the display. This is the time now. See how the brew later is flashing up at the top? So see, when that brew later is flashing at the top, that's the time that you want this to start. So I want mine to start at 6:10 a.m. So hit the brew later button. Now that memorizes it. We can change our coarse, fine, or if we've got coffee grounds in there, we can do brew only. But say we want to do a fine, and then that's going to start. So when we go to bed, we want to make sure that brew later light is on, or the words are on. And if I want to cancel it, just hit the button and that cancels it. I don't hit any other buttons. So press the button, set the time. That's the time I've got set. Let it memorize it. And once it's done memorizing it, you don't have to hit any more buttons. It will start at whatever time you've got set, just because that brew later program is on now. You don't hit the start button. You don't hit. You can change your these, but that's how you know it'll start in the morning. And again, let's talk about the keep the hot plate. Very simple to change. 4 off, 30 minutes. That's how long the warming plate's going to stay on. You just hit that button, and then it'll memorize it. So overall impression, $80. It does brew a pretty good cup of coffee. Cleanup is going to be the problem. So if you're willing to do a little extra cleanup, you do get freshly ground coffee beans. Now this is a chop grinder. It's not a real fancy burr grinder or nothing. Do I think it's going to last a long time? It looks pretty good. Time will tell. I don't know exactly how long it's going to last, but it does feel like it's made pretty well. So cleanup for me is going to be a problem. If you buy your own grinder, cleanup is a little easier. And you can't use a paper filter with this. But that's okay. Those filters do a good job too. So check out my next video. It's going to be a how to descale it. This does not have a descale light to tell you when. You're supposed to descale it every 3 months. Thanks everybody for watching. If you could, please like and subscribe.